Now you listen to me! He's not the Messiah! He's a very naughty robot! Now go away! Now watch Space 1999!
We're watching Brian the Brain, yes, watching Brian the Brain. Not written by a genius, but someone insane. Actually, it was written by a chap called Jack Ronda, who I best know for writing a lot of Survivors episodes.
Journey, we've kept a full record of everything that has happened.
Anyway, welcome back to Space 1999 Series 2. Have we been here this year? I don't think so, can't remember. Anyway,
Memory banks.
The Alphans are busy
Computer is fully engaged.
reviewing, well, they say old memory tapes,
Scientific person.
but in fact it just looks like, again, pages from an encyclopedia.
That does.
What's the matter, John? Don't you like having an easy time?
Oh, I'd like it much better if my off-duty time coincided with yours.
Romantic banter, flirting, head tilting.
What?
Well, maybe the computer will pick out some memories of us together. Then we can learn from the past.
I'd rather get back to the prison.
Because I don't care about, who's that, Victor Bergman? I don't remember him. David Cano, doesn't ring a bell. Change.
Change.
The word change has appeared on the screen.
That's not from the memory track.
Oh, that's happening now.
I love how completely clueless they are about what's happening, considering what it turns out is something fairly major, and the computer should be screaming at them that the moon is changing course. It's happened many times before, but instead they're like, "What? What's this mean?
We're changing course.
The moon can't be off course. That's impossible.
This is impossible. It's impossible. It's never happened before." Yes, they're reacting as if this is a completely new thing. It's too early for me to go completely to pieces, especially when watching Brian the Brain. We must remain sensible for Brian the Brain. So, what are we looking for?
It looks the same as it always does.
It's big and black and it's got a lot of stars in it. And that's my expert opinion on space. I'm Tony Vadeschi.
The computer's still reviewing the memory tracks. Cancel the review.
It was a silly bit of pointless banter-creating thing for the start of the episode. We don't need it now. Yes, everything's getting a bit more serious now.
Come on. I want to know what's pulling us off course.
I do love Martin Landau pacing and clicking his fingers. He's very good. He's very good at pacing, is Landau.
Yasko, I want a 360-degree visual scan.
Well, she was already doing that. Very slowly, but she was doing it. But there's nothing. Nobody can see anything out there that might be pulling the moon off course.
Nothing. Could be a black dwarf.
Uh-oh.
Collision course with a black dwarf.
Right, only one thing to do. Panic!
Evacuation procedure.
Again, we've had black suns in the first season. Black suns specifically, not black holes.
Wait.
All Eagles, prepare to...
So I don't quite understand what the show thinks a black dwarf might be. I mean, I freely admit I don't really either. I kind of assume they're all one and the same thing.
We're getting closer to whatever's pulling us. And we don't have much time.
No.
Evacuate.
And here's something I love. I think I've mentioned it before, but I love when... And it's in this, it's in UFO, it's in a new Captain Scarlet, and I think that might be it for Anderson's stuff. Maybe Space Precinct, where they give the order to evacuate. Evacuate, and you know what that means? Stock footage, and people running around in corridors. Of course, it's extras. It's nobody you recognise aside from being extras. There's Pam Rose, there's Glenda Allen. Stock footage of travel tubes and eagles. But I just find it so much fun. I hope I'm not the only one who really loves a good evacuation scene. I expect I am, though. And I love watching the extras, particularly watching what they are holding. What's been judged important enough to take off of Alpha, little boxes and things. So everyone's in Command Center, and so is an extra by the name of Annie Lambert, who we may have discussed before because she was in New Adam, New Eve. She was in a few episodes around this time, got some dialogue in the second series. She'd done a couple of episodes in the first season too.
Estimates only what?
And she later turned up in Doctor Who in Fort of Doomsday. She was one of the frog aliens in that.
I calculate that's a small planet with no more gravity pull than we have.
So she picked up a bit more work than just extra.
Just a magnify.
We have something coming towards the base now. Oh, is this spaceship?
Wait a minute.
There we go, wait a minute. Oh.
Intercept.
Oh, this is reminding me,
Intercept unknown.
we have been to Series 2 this year, haven't we? We were there for the Bringers of Wonder back in March, where the base was visited by a Super Swift. So, what a coincidence that the next time we return to Series 2,
Eagle 1 to Moonbase. We have visual.
they are about to be welcomed by a Swift, presumably a forerunner of the same spaceship.
Morning to Eagle 1. Are you having abnormal gravity from that spaceship?
No, sir. Gravity is normal.
So, no abnormal gravity from the spaceship, whatever that means.
1 to Eagle 2, angle 10 degrees from me.
And we don't have Alan Carter in charge of the Eagles this week. Don't know where he is. We've got Bill Fraser instead,
1 to spaceship.
who's always a solid, reliable, dependable chap.
Eagle 1 to spaceship. Can you receive me? We are friendly.
And this is really his sort of reintroduction to the series. He'd been in the first episode, and after that he'd just almost been an extra in the Tabor and the Mark of Arcanon. Now, I think this is his first real attempt at establishing this guy as a regular,
Eagle 1 to spaceship.
I would almost say important part of the show.
Self.
But I probably mean important in the sense that John Hugg is important to the show because they know they can just chuck him in whenever one of the regulars isn't there, rather than Bill Fraser himself as a character. Anyway, speaking of characters,
Let's try to check that out.
I've waffled all over the introduction of our title character. After all, the episode is not called Bill Fraser, it's called Brian the Brain.
Mothership and 4 Swifts under Captain Michael.
Captain Michael. I love the way Maya says Captain. She doesn't say Captain, she says Captain.
Communications break. Fate unknown.
So, it's another failed Earth expedition into space.
There used to be a base on the moon. What was it? Alpha.
Because I don't know how many failed missions is that
Moonbase Alpha is operational.
in the 1999 universe? In fact, how many missions succeeded? That's the smaller number, surely.
Gravity threat or far.
And of course, that voice. We all know that voice.
Alpha. Swift to moon base Alpha.
Well, particularly if you're a resident of the British Isles, but I'm sure certain people further afield will recognise the voice of Bernard Cribbins,
With you?
the much loved, much missed
Alpha to Swift. All right, come on down and have lunch with us.
grandpa of the country. If you don't know, he was well known for sort of light entertainment, some comedy, but really children's and family shows and films.
Supplies to missile standing by for evacuation.
Narration on various children's shows, in particular the Wombles, and I think he held the record for the most appearances on Jack and Nori, which again, if you don't know, was again a children's show where celebrities would come on and just read stories to children. And Bernard Cribbins just... oh,
Eagles remain on standby.
we love Bernard Cribbins. It's like just when he died, and he only died a few months ago, so it's quite appropriate that Brian the Brain should turn up this year. Yeah, just a national outpouring of grief because he was just impossible not to love. I think for some people, though, this episode kind of pushes that a bit. Certainly not me. Although the character is quite grating at times, I think the fact that it's Cribbins, Bernard National Treasure Cribbins, forgives quite a few sins of this episode. So, having gone from a potentially hostile situation, we've now got this Swift spaceship has landed at Alpha, and the pilot wants to have lunch with them. I also like there that the boarding tube was extending towards the Swift, and it's clear that the boarding tube model is not going to link to that model spaceship. The shape's just incompatible, so they're extending the walkway really slowly. And anyway, Koenig and Helena and 2 security guards, Quentin Pierre and Mark Zuber, are coming aboard. And of course, Quentin Pierre was in most episodes of both seasons. Mark Zuber had only, I think, been in one episode before this, and that was Black Sun. He's just hanging around in several scenes of Black Sun. He was also in The Protectors, an episode we did not too long ago, called With a Little Help from My Friends. And they're checking out this whole ship. Doesn't seem to be anything of note. I mean, there's a huge computer panel there with a big smiley face. But aside from that...
There's no one there, sir. What? Just no sign of anyone.
No flesh-eating octopus or anything. You're security guards, damn it. I send you in first to get eaten or burned or whatever.
That's right, Doctor.
Okay. Okay, fellas. Okay. You've had your inspection.
And I like how quickly, actually, Quentin Pierre and Mark Zuber are like, oh, we've got to get our guns back out. This is serious. He tricked us. Definitely someone there.
Where are you?
They both look quite tough in this scene. I suppose it helps that they've got the huge rocket launchers rather than the staple guns.
No. You stay there, okay? I'll come and meet you.
And there he is, that obvious robot that wasn't really fitting in with the main command deck because it had a smiley face for one reason, is actually mobile.
Morning.
Yeah, that's me.
This is our guest character, Brian the Brain.
And you're the lady.
Voiced by Bernard Cribbins.
I'm Dr. Russell.
Well, how are you, Dr. Russell?
Being a bit... I think I get the impression he's ad-libbing at points during this. Keynote, he has also got basically a tail. It's a cable running out of his bottom. That is going to be important in the story, believe it or not.
Oh, there aren't any steps or stairs, are there?
No.
Because I'm on wheels and I can't cope with the bumps. They didn't think of that when they
Oh,
made
there we go. Canonical proof that Moonbase Alpha could not stand up to an attack by Daleks. Oh, the Daleks can go upstairs. Yes, well, never mind.
1996. Our mothership and the other Swifts landed on that planet. We called it Planet D.
And considering this is a fairly goofy character,
They just died.
I really like Cribbins' performance. As I said, I think it would fail with any other actor. Maybe that's my knowledge of Cribbins and what he means to the soul of this great nation, sort of forgiving quite a few of the flaws with this episode. But I think it's also a fun design as well.
Don't step on my antenna!
Security guard trod on his tail.
Not to mention a headache.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a fun design. Not great, but it's probably the best they could do with this at the time.
I said I haven't got a name.
I also like that Landau and Baines seem genuinely
Brain.
Well, that's not my name. That's what I
warm and welcoming to this guy.
ever said was great.
That's why I think they're probably... Bernard Cribbins must have been reading this live on set.
If you want to give me a name, call me Brian.
All right, Brian. We wouldn't want to get you wrong.
Okay, lady.
There's a sense of sort of, this is a genuine interaction rather than them sort of reacting to pre-recorded dialogue.
Fine. Whee, that's nice.
And there is an actor inside that prop, peddling away. I can't remember his name, but he's a fairly well-known face from certain British comedy shows.
Oh, what?
Have you recorded it?
Oh, no, I haven't. No, change
I
it.
also love that the Brian prop is only just thin enough to fit through the doors.
Oh, like from Planet D?
They really have to line him up just right to get him through some of these narrow doorways.
Hello, everybody. How...
Yeah, there's a tight squeeze getting through that command centre door.
Okie doke, I really...
And Tony is instantly enchanted. Tony, our head of security, is like, "Whoa, how about that? It's a cute robot with a smiley face."
I'm sorry I can't shake hands. I haven't got a hand, but you can pat me if you like.
Annie Lambert is given a bit more business to do here, stroking Brian.
Peekaboo. Oh,
And here we go, famous moment. Famous romantic moment.
yellow plastic wheels. Oh. No, I'm just kidding, really. I mean, that trolley don't mean anything to me. We're just good friends.
I can certainly appreciate that some people really hate this episode for, just how far the series has, I wouldn't say fallen, but changed since year one. I mean, since the days of Dragon's Domain and Black Sun and all that. And in some Series 2 episodes, you can see in Martin Landau's face he is thinking the same thing.
Koenig,
But he doesn't seem to be here.
I'll get back and I'll check that change.
I just get this impression that
About that lunch.
Landau and Bain are just genuinely enthusiastic about Cribbins. I've got nothing to back that up. It's just... I have this vision of him just being off screen with the microphone.
Thank you. I'd like that very much.
And they must have just liked the guy, because we all liked Bernard Cribbins. He's lovely.
Crew, not to say my captain.
And he's got a bit of a sad story.
Try to help.
Why, are
He
we?
had a crew of humans, because remember, this was an Earth ship.
I know. Why should I mind? I'd be delighted, really. Yeah.
But they all have mysteriously died in mysterious circumstances. So,
Oh, these doors are so narrow.
he's commenting on it. Again, could be an ad-lib.
What do you make of that?
I'm not sure.
Well, what is it?
It's a robot, Tony. It's a robot. Try and keep up.
Self-monitoring, too.
Was it alive?
That's a difficult question. Depends what you mean by alive.
Well, I don't know what I mean.
Oh, what a surprise.
But that sure made my day.
As security chief of Moonbase Alpha, I have no concerns about this supercomputer we've just let in and interface with our own equipment, and I certainly won't be putting any of my security men on it.
Maya, well, give it a chance. It's doing a check for us. We don't know where we're heading yet.
He's got a smiley face, Maya, come on.
Your brain works like a computer, so you're jealous of that other computer.
Ah yes, the first of several really rubbish lines that Tony gets in this episode.
What are they doing on Swift? Open a channel.
Okay.
Oh, a wavy line. Even Tony knows something's wrong there. Because the Swift is taking off! Oh no! It was obviously a trap. And Tony Vaneshi's expert moonbase security, somehow they got past him. And he's made off into space with Koenig and Helena.
No response.
We've been cut off. Where are they?
Speaking of where, I take it the rest of the Alphans who evacuated, are they back? I would assume they are back, because we later see Fraser on the moon, but then he escorted Swift in, so...
You're taking us.
I'm sorry.
Where is everybody who left?
John, it's just a machine.
What do you think you're doing?
Shut up.
And there we go, first signs that Brian is, he's got a bit more going on than just, he's more than just a smiley face.
Just go through for a minute.
Yeah, it's a lovely prop.
Into my pilot console.
I know it was displayed at exhibitions in subsequent years. Does it still survive? I'm not sure. I'd like to think that Brian does survive somewhere. But now the Swift is moving very far away from the moon, very fast.
Come on in.
Ooh. I've been expecting you, Mr. Koenig.
Trim it back to Moonbase Alpha.
No, wait.
Yeah, and Cribbins, again, is doing a sort of American accent, which you wouldn't expect to work for him, and yet somehow it does. Ah, a blue planet.
Planet D.
You got it, lady.
Ah, Planet D.
Commander, it's channeled through me.
And this is a nice spaceship set. It's quite roomy, which is nice.
Program the spaceship to return to Alpha.
And the sets you can see in the control consoles in the background. There is a definite design lineage between this ship.
Lady will be swept.
I don't know. I can't place this chronologically, whether this was like 10 years before Alpha. Oh no, he mentioned Alpha, didn't he? So it must have all been concurrent technology.
I don't need air, do I?
Again, it's a cheap, way to reuse old props, but it does make sense. This is an Earth ship from the same period, roughly, and he's threatened them.
Taking us to Planet D.
Put your gun down and I'll tell you. I'm not gonna harm you.
I'm your friend.
You know, Koenig, I can't eject one without the other, and if you go into space, she goes. 1, 2.
Ooh, he's threatening them with the airlock. Again, that will come into play later, although this shot is strange because he opens the inner door, but he doesn't open the outer door. I don't quite understand how that vacuum effect was created there, but anyway.
Panel.
Forcing Koenig to put his gun down into a little panel that swallows it up. There it was, gone.
Let us through to Alpha.
I'd give you service with a smile, lady, but I can't smile, as you can imagine, although I do have a very pretty face. There's the service.
Oh, I don't know. It's he does smile. His mouth is almost a permanent smile. Again, I like it's something you'd see in Doctor Who, probably after this, really, that the mouth would light in time with the dialogue.
Nothing but a mathematical sine wave.
And in Command Center, all they're getting is the wavy line.
The brain had the same computer as ours. When it got in here, it somehow gave the command, eradicate.
Is that true? You've blinded them so they can't communicate?
I guess so.
Ain't I a stinker? Landau just doing not a face palm, but a sort of thumb on forehead.
Going into orbit around some gravity center.
So, who's going to get up off his backside and do something?
I'm waiting to hear from you. What's going on?
Bill Fraser.
Has it been wiped out?
I also like his line, I've been sitting on Eagle 1 waiting to hear from you.
It's functioning, but we can't get an answer.
Not in Eagle 1. He's been on Eagle 1. He got in his spacesuit and climbed on top of his Eagle. I'm sure he didn't, but...
Commander and Dr. Russell have been abducted on that Swift, and we've got to get them back. I'll go after them. Now, we'll go after them with a whole squadron of Eagles. Come on, Mile.
Yeah, come on, Fraser. Our established Chief Eagle pilot. Anyone know the name Alan Carter? Not this week. We're going after them with a whole squadron of Eagles. Best leave Alan behind. This also now means I think Yasko is in command of Alpha, so that'll go well for them.
You know what these boys of yours are showing? They're showing loyalty. Yeah, well, I like that. I'm gonna make a note of that.
And you have to look at this story of essentially a renegade artificial intelligence.
Folks,
and it's hard not to compare it back to the first series with the Infernal Machine. We had this living robot spaceship voiced by Leo McKern. There are several episodes in the second series where you can make that kind of parallel to something from the first season, and it's almost like the same idea, but produced for almost a different show entirely. This is a much more...
Could be a trap.
Well, juvenile take on the same concept, and yet it does... I still find this quite appealing. I know there are people out there who hate this one.
Anything you want, Connie, go ahead.
I'm not one of them, but I would definitely say it's a guilty pleasure. Despite some terrible dialogue, and we are about to get one of those lines from Bill Fraser here.
Won't be able to get back.
We can't just leave you.
You must.
Tell them you're okay. I've got food and drink. What do you want, music?
I'll read a Roald Dahl story to you.
Did you check whether the moon and Planet D were on a collision course?
Sure. The moon and Planet D are not on a collision course.
Hooray.
What course are they on?
They're going in circles round each other, and they'll go on spinning round each other until the end of time.
Which I assume is a lie.
Brain, some crazy hijacking slot machine?
Slot machine, you plastic pin brain, you!
Come on, nobody in their right mind would ever say that line.
I want all personnel back on Moonbase.
Yes, sir.
Poor John Hug. What a mouthful as well. That's just... ugh. Damn it, man, you're supposed to be being established as part of Alpha's command structure here. Don't blow it.
Very impressed. I'm making a note.
I love the way he says that as well, several times in this episode. I'm making a note. So, all the Eagles are going home, all four of them.
All communications cut. They can't see or hear us now.
Don't think that's how it works.
Okay, send all the other Eagles back. We'll go on. We've got our own foolproof computer. Maya.
Because unless the Swift has turned off their own sensors, there's no way they can't detect Eagle 1 following them.
Where's the Swift heading for?
Planet D? It's obviously Planet D.
Planet D.
Ah.
I want to be on Planet D, waiting when that thing gets there.
So even though they've got a head start, we can turn on our boosters and get there before them, somehow. And they won't detect us. It's fine. Yeah, a bit of a leap there to accept that the Swift, and particularly Brian, can't detect Eagle 1, just because they turned off the radio.
Does it have air?
Yeah, but there's a kind of mist that could be poison. Oh, come on, folks, be happy. Don't you love each other?
And here we go. One of several episodes in the second series that kind of pushed the
Of course not.
the idea that the two main couples of the show were in love. Think also the Beta Cloud and One Moment of Humanity.
Jill, I want one of you in each.
And for some reason...
Well, how about this?
Ooh. Yes, Brian can create... Is it ultraviolet?
Do no good.
Yeah, Helena somehow knows that it's ultraviolet light.
Please, turn it off!
Get into the airlock.
All right, just turn it off.
But yeah, we're going down this sort of plot cul-de-sac here of Brian really wants to know whether they're in love or not.
Come on.
Because if he finds out that they are, then he's got a hold over each of them for the life of the other. But it's kind of obvious by this point that
You come along.
neither of them are gonna let the other die. They'll go along with whatever Brian says, no matter what.
You there?
Right.
I'd also love to know what part of the Brian prop the guy inside can actually see out of.
Lady, into the next one.
It's got to be somewhere on the head.
Be all right.
Let's get a close-up of Brian's face.
Thing I've got to know about you two.
I can't see where he would be looking out from.
I've really got to know.
Oh, there's a grill on the, just below the neck, I suppose.
This lady.
And now it almost feels like we're having a wedding.
Dr. Helena Russell.
Do you take this moon base commander to be your lawful wedded screen husband?
No, I don't.
Wow. That's it. They're each shut in an airlock. This is Brian's love test. It's later referred to as a love test.
I'm going to let the air out.
Again, it's an interesting idea that Brian would be sort of interested in human psychology and human relationships.
Do you see the black one?
But I just feel this is kind of padding, this whole love test thing.
Air's getting thinner.
Because like I said, there's no way he isn't already fully aware that they wouldn't sacrifice their lives for each other.
Airlock. You get it, Koenig? If you press your button, all the rest of your air goes to the lady.
How romantic. So, anyone up for suffocation?
I gotta tell you, you can't communicate with each other. No way, folks.
That's against the rules. Yeah, we can't hear Koenig or Helena inside the airlocks. I really like the smiley face on Brian. Again, I said the way the mouth lights up and such. It's a very nice looking character. Which again is a credit to the designers. He's meant to look benign and friendly, which of course Cribbins supports with the voice. And then we get to almost torture moments like this. This robot with this very smiley face just watching them, you know, one to the other. Ah.
You're running out of time, folks.
So, the air is being pumped out. Who will be the first one to give their air to the other? Because someone's got to do it. There's no way they could just decide to keep it for themselves. Well, wouldn't you know it? They both lunge for the transfer my air to the other airlock button.
Simultaneous!
At the same time.
Have all your air back.
Hey!
Whoa. Ah, you love each other. Wow.
This is almost like Brian the Brain's blind date. All of a sudden.
18-karat gold crunch on the other. Ah.
Which you must have known you already had. Again, I have to assume this is Cribbins ad-libbing. I want to believe that Bernard Cribbins went on that set and everybody loved him, and even the Americans who didn't quite understand what he was just instantly took to him because he was just such a nice guy. Yeah, it really felt sad. And I don't often feel genuinely sad at celebrity deaths anymore, partly because the people involved with these shows, it's happening now so quick, so many every month. There's like a dozen people.
And I'm on wheels, I told you.
But it was something like...
What are you after?
I'll tell you, Koenig.
As I said, he was he voiced a lot of children's shows, worked on a lot of family productions. It was almost like a voice from your childhood. You know, the narrator of the Wombles. And his technique with those shows, and particularly with Jack and Nori, and I think he admitted it himself, was in delivering a performance that made it feel like he was talking directly to one viewer, one child, and you were that viewer.
And it's okay, I'll keep the...
It's a very rare gift that he had.
How you feel.
And I can't think of many others who were as good at that as he was. Anyway, Brian's latest plan, now that we have landed on Planet D, is to send Koenig out to pick up some fuel from the mothership. At least I think it's the mothership that's stranded on the surface. And to do this, we have to go out in the silver spacesuit that we saw in the Seance Spectre. I think it's making its first appearance here. I mean, I'm sure it's just a regular Alpha spacesuit. Well, no, it wouldn't be repainted, would it? Because you couldn't really repaint a costume. I don't know. Maybe it's the one from The Day After Tomorrow. That's more likely, actually, yeah. With a repainted helmet, perhaps. Anywho, they are now on Planet D. Koenig is about to head out over to the mothership. And what follows is a very strange sequence. And I say that considering that this is a show... The second season was almost like, got to have action. Action. Action all the way. If the characters aren't, you know, talking about an exciting action thing, then they're doing an exciting action thing. Here we get a solid 2 minutes of Martin Landau slowly walking across a misty planet set, which does look, to be fair, it does look nice and alien. I think the music is helping. It's a very minimal set otherwise, just, you know, dusty ground, some rocks, a few trees, and a lot of mist. The mist is probably covering a multitude of sins here. And of course a dead body that Koenig has found. One of the mothership crew? But yes, it's a very long 2-minute scene. Nice music though. And again, it also paints a memorably... I think it ties back into the first season as well. The show's general approach to the idea of mankind in space is it's going to be a total disaster. Just the image of these people, these dead bodies, preserved forever on the surface of a totally alien world.
Visual communications.
It is quite haunting when you stop to think about it. But then we go back to Brian.
John?
Yes, okay.
He said okay. Not to worry, lady. So who's worried?
Yeah, I always love that with this show, the pessimistic streak regarding humanity's place in space. Every mission is going to be a glorious failure.
What was he like?
That's him.
Bernard Cribbins.
Father.
Koenig to Swift. I'm now in the vicinity of the mothership.
Koenig, what do you see?
Well, I don't see a model of the mothership. That would be too expensive to show this week, apparently.
Can't see you, can hardly hear you. Going around to the blind side of the ship now. Out.
John?
I was going to say that perhaps he's not mentioning what he can see because he can see Tony's eagle. But I think in the next scene we find out that's not true. We just don't get to see a mothership model at all. We just have this this orange ladder. Looking quite flimsy. Anyway, Koenig is now aboard. Another spooky dark ship with cobwebs.
John!
And Tony. Tony and Maya were just standing around in the dark, apparently.
Well, we landed ahead of you, so we came aboard.
See what's out there?
Yeah.
Presumably the crew. I tested the atmosphere. Toxic, deadly.
They went out without their suits. They must have been crazy.
Oh, and there's Bernard Cribbins himself playing a dead body, Captain Michael's dead body.
Permission to test the console, Commander.
Permission granted. Make it fast. We've got to get back to Helena.
Is anything working? No, because it's the same wibbly-wobbly line.
A sine wave. The same response as our moon base. That means the mothership is blind.
That brain is mad.
Blinded a computer on its own mothership.
That's why the crew didn't know about the poison and went out there and died.
That's why Captain Michael was left alone with no means of life support.
Yes. And at first, I like the way you're meant to think, he's just done this because he's the villain.
Brain kidnap you.
But I like the motivation that we're about to discover here for why he did what he did to...
It wants to live forever, Maya.
To his crew and the man who created him.
Listen, how do we get at the brain?
Tony's just opened one of those yellow salt skip things that you find on the side of roads.
Part of the universe.
Grit skip things.
By breaking its mind.
Breaking its mind?
Confusing it to the extent it doesn't know what it's doing.
You should be able to handle that, Tony. You're a very confusing fellow.
I had a good look at Captain Michael.
I know you did, Maya.
Aha.
Hello, what's this?
Bits of Brian.
Wait a minute.
There we go. There's another wait a minute. That's our second one this week. That's something you need to add to the Space 1999 drinking game, which I believe is a thing, every time they say wait a minute.
It does, Tony. I think I know what this was going to be.
What are you on to, John?
How do we get you aboard?
I can fit into your pocket.
You don't deserve an answer, Tony. I shall only reveal what I know when it's convenient for the plot. And you won't be there when I do it. Maya's turned herself into a mouse.
Easy, Maya.
Got her?
Oh, Maya Mouse is really panicking there. She really wants to get out.
Taking his time.
He's got to find the fuel store, unlock...
That's something that happens occasionally in this show when Maya turns into an animal and the animal clearly doesn't want to be there.
Is Koenig reliable?
He's reliable.
And another slow plod back to the Swift. But this time...
There he is!
He's got the fuel cell.
Have you got it all?
And he's got Maya in his pocket somewhere.
We're approaching with a fuel core.
She must have turned herself into a mouse that's resistant to poison toxic gas because...
Yes, of course!
I don't know if he'd have an airtight pocket on that spacesuit specifically to hold mice. But who knows? We've now got to climb the ladder. All right, said Koenig, climbing up the ladder with his fuel cell. Gonna give it to Brian. He looks a bit tired. Oh, and Brian is screaming at him.
Come on.
Let him decompress properly.
He's fine. Come on, Koenig.
It's also rare to hear Bernard Cribbins play a villain, which is quite nice. And he's got no patience for this.
You two, Koenig, get to the fuel. Dr. Russell, open the hatch there, number 4.
Brian? Incidentally, I saw your crew scattered all over the planet's surface. Lying dead.
So they're dead.
And Captain Michael, sitting at his command desk. Also dead.
My father?
Well, that gets through to him. Almost.
Oh, Dr. Russell, will you open the hatch? Careful.
Oh, now you see, the trouble with Brian here is he's being too hasty. Now, you never get nowhere if you're too hasty. I know, it's the second right, said Fred, in a minute, but I have to do it as Bernard Cribbins.
I like you very much.
Okay, yes, calm down. Yeah, I'm not quite sure to what extent the Swift and Brian are linked to the point where he can feel the fuel being inserted.
Free to live forever. Stand by for takeoff.
Oh, that's a nice dramatic close-up on Brian there with the dramatic music. I do love this piece of incidental music, by the way. I think this is probably one of my favourite pieces from the second year. Because it feels like that bombastic Barry Gray, big, beautiful machines moving around music we used to get.
Take it easy. Can't approach too close or the brain might blind us.
Oh, but you already established that he can't see your eagle, so... Oh, Koenig didn't hide Maya in his spacesuit. He hid her in his uniform jacket. That seems even more unsafe for poor old Maya.
What's that?
A mouse?
Get rid of it. It's biting my antenna. Where did it come from?
Planet D.
There are no mice on Planet D.
I love the way he stops absolutely dead to deliver that line, and with a tone of shock. There are no mice on Planet D.
What?
I find it... It's one of those lines, one of those odd lines that just kind of sticks in your head.
Revenge.
Ooh.
You don't have a message from Captain Michael? Listen, mortals, what do you think you can do against me? I'm in complete control of this spaceship and everything aboard it.
I also like that Brian's power comes through control of the ship rather than weaponry as such. He doesn't seem to have any weapons of his own except for that UV light.
Killed him.
I did not kill him. I don't know how he died.
He died because you blinded his computer. His crew was misled, and he was left with no means of life support.
Oh, you're a naughty robot.
Created you. Your own father. Why?
Now listen, both of you.
I know why you killed him. He was working on
I
a...
also like the way Brian is being backed off towards the airlock, but every so often he resurges forwards, and Landau and Bane really have to sort of jump back quickly so they don't get, the corner of the prop smashing into their shin or something.
Brain could not be made.
That's what he discovered. That's what Koenig saw on the Swift. Or the mothership, even.
Be a better friend.
Brian 2.
Movements on me. I will make myself.
The embryoning.
I'm going to sweep you out into space.
No. You can't solve your problems by killing us the way you killed Captain Michael.
I did.
Yes, he can.
Captain Michael.
Yes, you did.
I did not.
He told me.
Who told you?
Captain Michael.
And here he is. In person.
Brain.
Bernard Cribbins looking like a zombie.
Brain, I want to talk to you.
Covered in cobwebs. And again, this is a kind of a Star Trek thing of talking the evil computer into not quite killing itself, but defeating itself here.
My father!
He conceived you. He made you. He's wiser than you and greater than you. And you killed him.
And Landau is giving it his all here for this fairly silly character. I do sometimes wonder if they had told this story in the first season, what kind of prop would they have created for Brian? And I can't really think that they would have been able to do much different. And Brian in season 1 just would not work at all. But there we go, they've blown him out the airlock, shut the door just on his antennae, so he's not adrift in space, but he's out of the ship.
Let's contact Tony. I'll stop this Swift for docking procedure.
Oh, nice ADR there.
Eagle 1 to Commander Koenig. We are receiving him. Let me talk to Tony.
Right in.
But talk to me, I'm Bill Fraser. The Swift has stopped. And this leaves us with an oddly unsettled plot point.
Core from the brain and take it back to Alpha.
The brain still has its antenna.
We'll destroy it. Cut it.
If you destroy my antenna, my memory core will be wiped clean. Moonbase will be blind forever. If you don't get me back in, I'll wipe it clean anyway.
I'll take that chance.
Uh-oh.
Cut the antenna.
Now don't cut my antenna, please! Don't cut my antenna!
All right, Brian. We'll let you live if you give us your memory core undamaged.
Yes, take my memory, take everything. All I wanted was life and friends. I'm so lonely. Take it all.
Oh, I feel sorry for him here. And he's crying and he's sad. But again, this is a fairly unresolved part of the episode. What the hell do they do with Brian after this? The obvious thing would be to take the Swift and Brian back to Alpha. And I don't know what you'd do with Brian, but surely the Swift would be of use.
All right, let's see if it works.
But it's just so... it's not mentioned.
It's operational.
Yeah, the thing's working again.
We still don't know where we're going. Direction check.
Horizon data direction check.
All our extras are back, so the Alphans must have returned en masse.
Operational.
Hey.
Not spinning round Planet D. We're on the same course we always were.
Another lie from Brian the Brain.
So no need to panic.
What do you intend to do about the brain, Commander?
Yeah, what are we going to do? So he's still hanging out of the Swift airlock.
Blind and taken away its memory.
Listen, when it was operational, it killed a lot of people.
Yeah, but you kill a lot of people with your incompetence every day, so...
We could always reinstall its memory core, though that could be dangerous.
I think it's also a bit difficult to understand what they're actually discussing here.
We program our own morality into it. Give it the 10 Commandments.
Oh, yeah, you could order it to self-destruct if it ever harbors any evil thoughts again.
So... brain surgery seems to be the solution.
Return the memory core to Swift.
Yes, Commander.
Hey, Maya.
Oh god, here's another terrible line.
Brain's memory. You better not transform yourself into a yellow-wheeled trolley, or this console will get up and chase you.
I get the impression they just reprogram Brian to be good and then send the Swift on its way.
Are we going to have any...
But that would seem to be a massive waste of potential resources.
The new stuff for the next month.
With this spaceship, this Earth spaceship, it's compatible with their own technology and it's right in their own hands and they just let it go? I don't know. The ending... Brian's fate is really vague here.
It's a test that we,
And another show, it might be a sort of setup for introducing him as a regular character. I don't think that would work, but I wouldn't mind it seeing him again, just knocking around doing odd jobs. Although Bernard Cribbins is a very strong persona that would just probably overwhelm the show. And so maybe it is just best that we only really got the one performance of him from Brian the Brain. I find that a genuinely entertaining episode. I mean, as I said, it's a long way from the heights of the first season, but within just the second season alone, it's fairly fun, it's fairly harmless. The show committed many worse sins than Brian the Brain. So on the whole, thumbs up here.